we've just spotted our first icebergs ahead, which is really freaking cool. So neat to see ice floating around out here already.
We've been making our way north via the protected inside passage route into Alaskan waters. Weaving our way through its narrow, winding passages has led us here, to this remote channel at the foothills of a dreamscape now referred to as the Stikine ice field. The water is a beautiful turquoise, these misty mountains, and then this glacier ice scattered everywhere. It's like the dreamiest landscape that we could possibly imagine. Flowing down the Stikine ice field from an elevation of over 8,500 feet, the LeConte Glacier runs south between steep mountains for 25 miles before plummeting into the ocean, here at the head of a narrow twisting inlet known as Conte Bay. And this is exactly where we're trying to get to aboard our small and humble sailboat.
Wow, there's some really big bergs in here. So we're just trying to weave our way through and see how far we can sneak up. Hopefully we can capture a glimpse of the face of the glacier. Hopefully we can get far enough in.
Like most places we'll be traveling to over the next few weeks, getting there presents a few logistical challenges. With some of the largest tides in the world, the currents here are no joke.
Well, that's some very spicy current coming out of Petersburg, so definitely have to hit that one at slack next time. Can only imagine how shitty it gets trying to get in there when there's like wind against current, and oh my god, just crazy. We're doing like 7.5 knots in like at an idle. No whirlpools or anything, just a lot of turbulence. It's cool though, nice to be out here, a little bit of a breeze, and we're heading to LeConte.
To get to LeConte, we'll be navigating through ice for the very first time.
That way.
Lots of ice. Things are shifting, things are changing.
It's completely choked out with ice, so we're now trying to pick our way through and find another route out through the ice to get back down the inlet a little bit.
I guess at a glance, nothing seems to be moving very quickly, but over the span of an hour or two, things are really shifty. So.
Oh yeah.
Although the water here is exceptionally deep, the entrance to LeConte Bay is ringed by a shallow and shifty sandbar.
It's kind of like a bar that's formed. It's like, 20, 30 feet deep that we're going to have to cross. We're going to hit it up exactly at low water slack so that we're coming in on the rising tide. So if we do run aground or bump the shelf or anything, then at least we'll float back off again.
Not to worry though, everything we've learned up to this point has prepared us for this. Right?
There's always anxiety about going and doing things that are unknown and, a little bit off the beaten path. There are tour groups that come up here. There's lots of fishing boats around. Petersburg is 10 miles away. So that feels really good. That's a nice kind of secure feeling to have when you're kind of going and pushing yourself and pushing your boundaries and experiencing something that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone. And certainly navigating through ice is outside of my comfort zone. I've never done it before. I feel like this is a very entry-level ice adventure. You don't have to dive in the deep end and be all of a sudden out in the Northwest Passage or up in Svalbard. We've done a lot of preparation.
Preparation is key when setting out on these kinds of expeditions, and we've spent a lot of time preparing leading up to this. Our cruising guide doesn't really have any information on where to anchor in there, so we've been trying to get some data, sort of figure out what the go is, what we can expect, when we should bring the boat in, where we could potentially anchor. If you're curious to learn even more, you can check out our latest passage planning episode. Link in the description below.
A little bit of wind out here this morning coming out of the south. Nothing too really crazy. It was just a couple of knots, like 5 knots or so. And yeah, it was just really exciting to see all the ice up there. The plan is to kind of get into and across the bars going into LeConte Bay on a rising tide. We're going to hit over there at low water slack so that if we do run aground, then we'll have the rising tide to bring us up again and we can float back out. And then when we do get through, then we have the entire flood cycle to navigate the ice and go explore. There is a spot I want to check out to see if we can anchor up in there, which which I think would be absolutely amazing, because that way we can then go explore the glacier in the dinghy and check it out all a little bit more close up. If that doesn't happen, then we will just come back out on the ebb cycle when the current turns around and starts coming back out, and we can navigate our way back out and go down to Ideal Cove or further ahead to Thomas Bay and go anchor up there for the night. So that's kind of the plan. Alison's just making some breakfast down below, which smells amazing. It is pretty chilly out here. Like, the wind coming out of the south and off the mountains is definitely cold.
With ice chunks on the horizon, you definitely need to keep a keen eye ahead, or risk running into one. But there was a lot more ice where we were heading, so it was time to get some food in before navigating required our undivided attention. Moody morning special. Whenever it's damp and cold, we always are in the mood for beans. So we've got some baked beans, fried tomatoes, some eggs, sourdough bread, and some sauerkraut to keep the gut healthy. You know what I mean? Aww.
Thank you, love. That looks amazing. There's nothing like a super hearty breakfast to get your morning started right, especially when you're going to go into the cold, icy terrain of glacial territory. You need a warm, strong, hearty meal to power you up and keep you going strong and keep you creating energy and interior warmth throughout the day. It's very exciting. Perfect way to start the day out here.
The bread was worth the $10.
It's insane, eh? $10 bread. Alaska, baby.
But it's good. With breakfast down the hatch, we were back on berg watch, scoping out the scene and mapping our approach across the shallow bar into the bay.
Just keeping an eye out for any icebergs, and in fact I do see one that's very low laying in front of us, so got to keep a vigilant lookout. Just kind of scanning the area in front of us, checking out where the pass goes over the bar, where the other icebergs are located, what the other boats are doing in the area. There's a fishing boat off to starboard over there. There's another yacht further down near the estuary. And yeah, just kind of from really getting a good idea of where everything's at so that we can start to piece it all together. We're just at slack tide now, so we're going to be a little bit behind schedule. It won't be completely slack going in, but we'll be going in with the flood, so we'll be traveling with the current. It is a negative tide today, so it's minus 2.5 feet. So I think there's at least 22 feet in the pass according to the charts. So as long as the charted values are correct, then we should have ample sea room to get through. And if not, current's coming up, tide's coming up, and boats float. So hopefully it'll be good.
Feeling a little bit nervous as we're approaching the entrance here because we're seeing so much ice, but we do think that it's sort of on the bar. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to navigate our way through there. Either way, just getting to the entrance would be totally cool, but the real thrill would be getting all the way to the head and taking a look at this glacier. So fingers crossed we can do that. So excited. Holy heck. Ah!
Approaching the entrance to Conte Bay, we were starting to see a lot more bergy bits, but some were a little more elusive and challenging to spot.
Yeah, that one.
This one right in front of us?
Well, we're already getting a taste for how vigilant you need to be and how hard some of these are to see. I don't think the one that just passed us would sink our boat or anything, but we didn't really see it until we were like 50 meters out. So yeah, definitely got to be vigilant, got to be paying attention. Yeah.
Keep a keen eye out.
Keeping a keen eye out.
And nearing the shallow bar, we weren't sure if all that grounded ice would impede our way through the pass.
We're just approaching the bar here at Conte Bay. It looks pretty clear at the moment. There's a few icebergs in there, but they're reasonably well spaced out. We're just a little bit after low water slack, so there will be a little bit of current maybe coming in with us, but I don't think it should be too bad. We're only about 45 minutes after slack. We've seen one large motor vessel come through a little bit earlier, just around slack, and he passed through absolutely no problems. Engines blazed and just powered through. So I think it should be absolutely fine. Really exciting though. Always gets a little nervous doing shallow water crossings, especially when there's icebergs around. I can't believe I even said that. It gets nervous doing something when there's icebergs around. Now I know what the captain of the Titanic must have felt like. Jeez. Anyway, so yeah, we're going to go into hyper-vigilant captain mode, keep a real good lookout, keep scanning the horizon constantly, and we'll just kind of throttle back, take it nice and easy as we go through. Skirt our way around. I want to explore the little cove just on the other side of the bar as a potential anchoring spot, and then we'll start to work our way up the fjord. You can see my breath now. It's getting cold. We've got a little bit of current coming through. We're in 35 feet of water. A little bit of current. We've sped up to 5.5 knots from 3.5, so 2 knots of current so far. A little bit of a rippling wave from the current pushing against the wind. But apart from that, it looks like all the bergs that we were looking at are actually grounded. So there's no free floating ice. So as long as we can stay in the deep water, everything is looking great for crossing the bar and actually getting into the Conte Bay. And then it's just a case of navigating whatever ice we encounter and working our way up towards the face of the glacier.
Despite being relatively shallow, the bar was indeed accurately charted, sounding an average of 20 feet through the pass. Luckily, the bergs were easy enough to navigate around thus far, but we didn't yet know how much ice would be waiting for us around the corner.
I'm feeling about as prepared as we can. We'll just take it really, really nice and slow. Keep our gaff pole out to fend off any bigger pieces, and you know, you can always turn around and come back out if it's too much for us, right? So that's really what we've got to keep in mind, is that we can always pull the plug at any given time that we're feeling uncomfortable. And yeah, it's such a settled day today so far. There's not really any wind, so the ice is only going to be moving around with the current, and it's not like it's going to be racing around like a race car in there. It's just slowly drifting around. So as long as we're slowly drifting around with it, then I think we'll all be doing the same little dance up in the Conte Bay. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I don't care because I'm so freaking excited about this.
I can't get over the color blue of some of these ice chunks. They're like blue snow cones. They're like the color of our canvas. It's crazy. I guess it's glacial silt and it's super, super dense. I don't know what makes it that color blue. Do you know?
I think it's because like as the glacier packs down denser and denser from up in the mountains, it squeezes all the air out of the ice, and then that makes the ice really, really compressed, and it kind of changes color. Because I think the white color you kind of see is all the opaqueness from the air trapped inside the ice. So the bluer the ice, the like denser and more from the bottom of the glacier it's come, I think.
Yeah, because some are like super blue and then others are more white. It has nothing to do with size, seemingly, so that's pretty neat.
We just scouted around the bay here just after crossing the bar. It's kind of like a little peninsula of land that comes out, and I think it forms a big back eddy before the bar forms. It looks to be fairly flat, flatter than it looks on the chart. Really big in here, lots of swing room. You can see tons of mud up on the shore, so I think it's probably nice solid silty mud holding. You're fairly protected by the bar and the delta of the river system. So I think this would be a good spot to anchor. You'd definitely get thrown around if it was windy, but I don't think it would be too uncomfortable in terms of the swell or anything. This is our number 2 option for anchoring. It's kind of our fallback if the one doesn't work out that's further up the inlet, which I'm more keen to go check out. But it's good to know that there's an option here in Conte Bay that means that we don't have to exit and cross the bar straight away, so we can possibly spend a night up here. So that's really exciting. Really happy about that. And the ice. Happy about the ice. The ice is incredible. It's so freaking neat. The contrast of the green forest and then like icebergs is just mind-blowing. It's absolutely bananas. There's an iceberg out here that, I swear, looks exactly like the Opera House in Sydney. It's kind of ridiculous. It's so cool and neat. I can't wait to get around the corner. Hopefully we can approach the glacial front and we can get in a little bit closer. It seems like relatively clear so far. There's some big icebergs that are around, but there's not really any of the smaller bergy bits that are floating around everywhere. So like, we're pretty well just having a straight course. You see the occasional one and just have to deviate a few degrees here and there. It's pretty straightforward so far. But we'll see if that changes the closer we get up to the head of the inlet.
This one looks like a crocodile mouth.
Yeah. Crocodile shark?
Crocodile shark. We just come around the corner of Indian Point and we're getting our first glimpse actually into the inlet. And we're super, super relieved and stoked because there's not a lot of ice.
Hooray!
Yes!
I mean, it's great that there is ice, but there's not a lot of floating ice.
There's not a lot of ice that's gonna impede our journey. So it's looking really promising that we're gonna be able to get close to this glacier today. Super stoked. We've seen videos of folks and they've had to turn around sort of like halfway up because the ice is really thick. And maybe that'll be the case as we approach the glacier, but at least for the next bend in the inlet, we are in the clear. Just super exciting. Definitely feeling the chill on the air though.
Like, oh yeah, it's really nippy coming down off the mountain.
It's cold. This is really, I think, the first time the whole trip that I'm in my full gear, like thermals, puffy, just all the gear. Yeah. Keeping
base layers, inner layers, middle layers, top layers.
Yeah, definitely chilly up here. There's a wind blowing off these big ice fields and you can feel it.
Look at that fucking waterfall out there. This is some absolutely wild country up here. It does look more bergy in there though. We're just coming around the first corner, getting our glimpses up into the reach, and there's definitely a lot more ice to pick through the further up we go. Exciting! These granite domes are like Yosemite Valley, but on steroids. It's just like a full-on granite face coming straight out of the ocean.
It's just getting more and more epic. There's crazy amount of ice chunks now, beautiful granite, insane waterfalls coming down. It's so amazing. We're not quite sure how much further we'll be able to make it. It's looking a little bit dense up ahead of us, but hopefully we can round this corner and get an awesome view of LeConte Glacier. Holy crap, like this is insane.
There's some really big bergs in here. So we're just trying to weave our way through and see how far we can sneak up. Hopefully we can capture a glimpse of the face of the glacier. Hopefully we can get far enough in. Oh, it's so crazy here. This is absolutely insane.
Just on the bow as we weave our way through this minefield of glacial ice. They're not too big, like a couple have bounced off the hull, it's totally fine. We've reduced our speed completely. I've got the gaff up here so I can fend any big bergy bits off if we need to. But right now it's pretty chill. The sound is so cool. It's like we're floating in a sea of Rice Krispies. You can hear the crackling of the ice as it's melting in the ocean. It's pretty amazing.
Drifting along, we continued picking our way through the ice, slowly making headway to get a glimpse of the glacial face, taking care not to disturb the abundance of wildlife here. Tidewater glacial fjords like this one are an important habitat for pupping harbor seals, the floating ice providing essential haul-out habitat for mums and nursing pups during the spring and summer months. There are only a few ice-filled inlets like this available to harbor seals in southeast Alaska, and studies suggest seals travel from other areas to give birth here, making it crucial habitat. Females give birth to hefty 25-pound chunky monkeys. The mums will nurse their pups for about a month as they double in size. Reaching adulthood, they measure 5 to 6 feet in length and weigh as much as a football player. Being crucial habitat, it's best to maintain a good distance, reduce speed, minimize wake, and engine noise.
Oh my god.
I don't think words do it justice.
Insane!
Holy hell.
Wow!
Oh my god. We made it to the cone!
We are on our boat in front of a glacier. This is just
Wild!
insane.
Absolutely insanity. Holy hell. We did it.
This is amazing.
Absolutely incredible. Ah. We did it! We made it to the Conte Bay! Woo!
Holy.
Wow. Lost for words, although I don't like how this guy. That way.
Well done, fending them off.
Yeah. That's apparently how you do it. Just give him a little nudge. This is absolutely surreal. Like, gobsmacked, lost for words. There is just so much ice and there's so much glacier over there. And seal pups on the ice. Oh, I'm baffled. Baffled is what I am. I have no words to describe what this is like. It's crazy.
This is absolutely mental. I just like can't get enough of the surroundings right now. Just sort of soaking it all in. Pinch me, am I dreaming? It's just crazy. I can't believe we're here. We made it. Southeast Alaska, land of the glaciers. Been years in the making to try and be able to do this with our small boat that's really not made to do this. And it just feels so surreal. I could hang out here all day, but the tide is changing and we gotta follow the ebb out of here so that we don't get basically packed in with the rest of the ice and the seal pups. Although, probably a nice place to hang out, but yeah, I don't think we'd ever make it out again.
Well, sadly, things really got to come to an end sometimes, and that sucks because this is fucking amazing.
Definitely the hardest place to ever leave, but things are shifting, things are changing. The tide will be ebbing in about an hour, and yeah, starting to feel a little bit more wind, which is pushing some ice sort of closer to our side of things.
Yeah, in the time that we were up there, the ice has completely shifted down here, and now the track that we came in on is completely choked out with ice, so we're now trying to pick our way through and find another route out through the ice to get back down the inlet a little bit. So you always got to be very cautious.
Yeah, it's pretty wild because things, I guess at a glance, nothing seems to be moving very quickly, but over the span of an hour or two, things are really shifty. So.
Oh yeah, now it's completely like there's ice flow right through it.
Yeah, there's actually another sailboat on the other end of the bay. He radioed us and was asking for a way in, asking if it was clear over on our side because he was sort of choked in on the other side, and I could see him now trying to navigate his approach. So hopefully he can find his way in to enjoy it. But yeah, we just got sort of lucky, I think, with the weather.
Lucky. Super lucky. We so blessed to have gotten to spend some time up here at LeConte. But we're going to head back now to the estuary and see what it looks like. We checked it out at low tide, made some marks on the map, and now we're going to go back now that it's high tide and see if it still looks like a place that we want to anchor. See if there's any ice in there, and see how we're feeling about it all. Otherwise, we'll be heading back to the first bay, and if that's also not looking great, then back out and over the bar.
With the wind and current changing, we were noticing a shift in the movement of the ice, and what was once a clear path through was now staggered with bergy bits. We continued to weave our way around, making a new track through the ice, cozying up with a few growlers along the way. And of course, scouting for the perfect size for cocktails. Are you getting ice?
I caught us something.
Nice
Look at
one.
this. That's thousands of years old. Not even salty. Look how few air bubbles are in it. Lucky we didn't buy ice in Petersburg, eh?
Should we mix ourselves a little cocktail?
We should have a little celebratory drink.
Crack a nice chunk off, put it in the icebox to keep the food cold, and have some cocktails on board.
But some definitely prove larger than they appear.
I think you might have outdone yourself with that one. Oh my god.
I picked up a really small bit of ice and I was like, I got the one, and then I was like, no, that's too small, pick up that one, and it's like the size of our cooler. Alright, we got ice for weeks. What's that?
Got some warm bowls of curry coming right up. Some leftover curry from last night. We knew today was going to be hectic, so just had to reheat chickpea curry with garam masala and some veggies, yogurt. We're going to enjoy it here and enjoy the views.
Oh, this curry's delicious. So warm when you're in such a cold place. It's so good. And what a spectacular view to be having lunch with. It's like the fanciest restaurant around.
You even have like real silverware. It's silver.
We bought our good silverware just for this occasion. Well, we're back here at the river system, still nice and settled. No ice has flown in here since we were up at the top of the bay, so that's a really good sign. It's now high tide and everything that we've seen earlier is now underwater, so we're really thankful that we came through and marked it earlier at low tide so that we kind of have some landmarks on our navionics tracks to kind of work with. We're going to stern tie in the mouth of the river like we did in Carlson Inlet last year. We're going to dump the hook down in about 100 feet at the bottom of the upslope. We're going to then reverse the boat back into the mouth of the river, set up a stern anchor up in the shallows, run a line out to the boat, and then pull the boat uphill so that the hook is dragged uphill into the bottom of the slope, because you can't drag an anchor up a slope. We're a little concerned that this landslide might have put some debris down at the bottom. We can't really tell, so we're going to set a retrieval buoy line on the crown of the anchor just in case we do snag something and we need to yank it back up. It's always a good idea to be a little bit cautious. A little bit of a logistical tangle of lines trying to set a hook down there in 100 feet with 100 feet of secondary line for a float. So that can be a little bit hairy. Al's gonna put it down on the front and I'm gonna feed the line out here from the stern. And then once the hook touches the bottom, then we'll deploy the dinghy and we'll start preparing to set up the stern line.
Setting up a stern anchor system in the mouth of the river, we dumped our bow anchor in about 100 feet at the bottom of the upslope.
Half hour later.
Yeah, 3 hours later.
We still don't have the stern.
But I found Bruce. Been hiding down here at the lazarette. He's like fucking been taking it easy all summer. Not helping out on the cruise, Bruce. Anyway, it's time for him to start pulling his weight around here.
Don't bring me down.
Bruce!
Don't bring me down, down.
Bruce!
With Lazy Bruce out of the lazarette, we deployed the dinghy and prepared to set up our stern anchor system. Using the charts on Navionics, James was able to work out where we should set the anchor to hold us steady in the river delta before dumping it in the shallows. We then reversed the boat back to the mouth of the river, running a line from the stern anchor to the back of the boat, essentially pulling our bow anchor into the upslope.
We had to let out a bit of extra rope to get us far enough back to pick up the stern line because the current was pushing us off a fair bit, which is perfect because that way the anchor will hold us nice and tight. But now we just got to pull in the road back to what we need so that the boat sits in the right depth of water, because if it's sitting too far back at low tide, she'll be in the mud. We don't want that. So we got to bring it back to about 180, 190, and then we can set the hook into the upslope and we can tighten up our stern line and then we're good. It only takes like 3 hours to do, but it's worthwhile doing because, you know, they may as well just call this one Glacier Bay.
A logistical hassle, no doubt, but worth it in order to be able to spend the night in this absolutely incredible place.
Welcome back. We're all squared away now here in Bussy? I'm gonna call it Boosie. We picked up this old block of ice. We're having glacial Manhattans, which is gonna be delicious. We've got some Four Roses bourbon, a Blanco vermouth. Some people like to use red vermouth, some people like to use white vermouth, some people like to use a blend of vermouths. We just use whichever vermouth we happen to have at the time. We got some bitters, which the label fell off. And yeah, we're gonna make some delicious Manhattans. So, without further ado, there we go. Still smells like bourbon. There we go. One for Al. In there, we got one for the captain. Also goes in the same cup. I've recently actually learnt the recipe for a Manhattan, which is not something I knew previously, but you only use 1 ounce of vermouth. Sometimes you use a little less. But there we go. I just do that because fancy. Splash it.
Glacier Bar.
Glacier Bar. Welcome.
I was told recently about a bar in the BVIs. What was that place called? Pirate?
Oh, something with a pirate ship.
There's a pirate ship.
And some bunch of naked people.
And instead of sinking the ship, they turned it into a pretty cool bar, and it's like a big hangout for all the kids down on the equator. If we end up running into some ice up here, we're gonna do the same thing with Uinta, and we'll call it Glacier Bar.
Glacier Bar.
Join us If you're in the area, please come join us here at Glacier Bar. We're mixing some fresh drinks.
With glacial ice. It's where it's at. It's the best ice for cocktails.
It would be nice to share this with others. It just turns out that the places that we anchor, no one else likes to anchor.
Yeah.
And I understand why, because that maneuver just took us at least an hour.
Hour and a half, I think.
But we had scoped it out before we even did this whole thing, so it's probably closer to like 2.
Yeah. The good anchorages are always worth working for because the view here is absolutely phenomenal. There's glaciers just floating on by. There's not glaciers, there's icebergs floating on by. There's icebergs in our drinks. There's icebergs up on the mountain still. And yeah, it's freaking beautiful. So
It is.
Cheers. Thank you for coming along on this adventure. If you haven't already, please subscribe, like our video, write us a comment to tell us how much you like how I make my Manhattans. Or just write us a comment to say g'day. Let us know what you feel about anchoring out here in these kinds of places. Let us know if you've ever been up to Conte Glacier. Oh, before I forget, I want to say a huge shout out to Captain Dave on Logos. Thank you so much, mate, for giving us a drone, for sponsoring our new drone.
One recently committed suicide. Rest in peace, Jerome.
We haven't named him yet, but we will. We've already been putting him to work, flown him off the boat, got some amazing footage. Dave, you're an absolute legend, mate. Really appreciate your kindness and your generosity, and thank you so much for supporting our drone sponsor program here on Allison and James Sailing.
Cheers. Cheers, guys.
Cheers to you, to everybody, to glaciers.
Oh, yeah. That is nice.
You can taste the years in the ice.
Imagine the things these glaciers have seen. This is really bloody good.
Really good.
Here at the Glacier Bar, tell your friends, bloody good cocktails.
Come for a Manhattan with us. Cheers. Welcome to Glacier Bar. It's kind of like Arctic Bar, but more remote.
Don't bring me down, down.
Me and Bruce are going on a manly date to the estuary. Nothing like a long romantic stroll or a dinghy paddle with your favorite anchor.
Oh my.